So I decided to start a new series. I wanted to kind of look into how more efficient making your food from scratch is as opposed to buying it from the store. Obviously, it's a lot more effort to make it, but I wanted to look more into the cost, health benefits as well as waste that it may perhaps produce. So right now I'm starting with a tin loaf of bread for sandwiches, toast, typical bread that you find in a bag at a store. The recipe I used was Paul Hollywood's because, Great British Baking Show. Who doesn't love that show? And he has a tin loaf recipe that I followed. So the ingredients I was using in that recipe were bread flour, some salt, some yeast, some butter, and water. This recipe yielded one 22-ounce loaf of bread. And I bought a 10-pound bag of bread flour, and I estimated about 10 loaves of bread per one 10-pound bag. I remember when baking bread first became a concept in my mind, when someone told me that their mother or mother-in-law, someone made bread. And it was baffling to me that that was even a thing. Everyone bought it from a store. And I guess it just showed me just how little people thought about where their food comes from. Like even the ones in the store, whether by machine or by hand in a bakery, someone had to have made it. And it was, again, blew my mind that it was even possible to even make it. So it always became a curiosity of mine since then. And I started really delving into bread making for the last year or so, maybe two. And on and off, life circumstances didn't always enable me to make bread, but I've been really on top of it lately, and I can't tell you how satisfying it is. And it also, in my opinion, tastes so much better. And also, to my surprise, it didn't even take that long to make. 10 minutes of kneading, a little, a minute or two to shape it, and all that was needed was the rise and the bake. And just how simple some of these recipes can be. I don't understand why I've never done this before, and I encourage other people to do it as well because it is unbelievably gratifying. So since I was using Paul Hollywood's recipe, who is British, they go by grams, like the rest of the world. Here in America, we are decided to be different and more difficult by using something much more complicated. So I had to convert everything from ounces to grams, and then I divided up how much each individual portion size of each ingredient cost to make per recipe. So I calculated the yeast, the flour, then the butter, how much each ingredient cost per loaf of bread. And getting into the final numbers of things, the bread flour cost about 65 cents. The salt was pennies. Like, I didn't even include it in the calculations because it was so little. The yeast was 37 cents, and the butter was 21 cents per loaf. So you adding all those together, that would equal $1.23 for a 22-ounce loaf of bread. And then divide that by 22 ounces, and you would get 5 cents per ounce, which when I went to the store, it is about half the price of a regular loaf of bread. So not only do I save money, but I also know where it's coming from, and it's healthier for my family. And it's one less plastic bag that I have to feel guilty about throwing away. See you next time.